This episode of 6'5 Guys is brought to you by Benchmark Barrels, world-class accuracy. Defiance Machine, defying tradition with innovation. JC Steel Targets, the industry leader in quality AR-500 steel targets.
Welcome to 6'5 Guys. I'm Steve Lawrence. We're going to have a two-part episode. This is part one of a reloading room makeover and tour. So part one, which we're filming right now, in fact, I want to recognize my cameraman who's actually behind the camera, Corey Bibby, is here. And we're actually prepping for SHOT Show. And we're using some new audio and video gear. And so he's here actually getting some on-the-job training. And we're filming a couple of episodes to do that prior to going out to SHOT Show in a couple of weeks. So for you guys that perhaps are interested in a little bit of behind the scenes of what we do here in the 6'5 Guys soundstage, we'll actually show you. It's actually my garage. And in case you wondered kind of like, what is it that's behind the bench? What do we have in the room? We'll get you kind of a behind the scenes view of that. As far as reloading room, a lot of the brass prep in terms of the cleaning, staging the brass, prior to actually going into the reloading room is done here. So I'll kind of walk you through some of the stuff that I've got. And then this past summer of 2018, I actually completely redid my reloading room. So if you actually look at some of the videos from season 1 and season 2 of 6'5 Guys, we shot a number of videos in that room, and you may recall that in some of those scenes, I had a reloading bench that had a cork top and some shelving on that bench, which was completely inadequate because, as many of you guys, I often get stuff delivered that I buy because I do a lot of shopping on web vendors and Amazon. And those boxes were piling up as well as just kind of getting gear in for review. And the boxes started to get waist deep. And I had gear strewn all over and there was just no storage in that room. So it came to the point this last summer, I was like, okay, I've got to kind of get this situation under control. So I completely cleared out that room, used a lot of my woodworking tools here to build myself some shelving, which I'll take you through to get better organized, as well as completely redoing my reloading bench. So we'll take a look at that in episode, or the second part of this episode. So why don't we kind of get started in this room, and we'll show you first kind of this assembly table that Ed and I stand before to do a lot of our episodes, and then we'll take a look at the bench behind us. All right, so I'm here behind what I call my assembly work table and the workbench here. So as you can see, this is a typical garage, second refrigerator just for additional cold storage. This is the door that leads into the house. And if you kind of pan this way quickly, it's like any other garage. This is the practice barricade that I have sitting here. A lot of my woodworking tools right now are out of the way. We'll get to those in a minute. I've got an air cleaner here, or a dust processing unit for a lot of the woodworking that I do. Now, this is a bench or an assembly table that I made a couple of years ago that essentially is a old chest of drawers that I built a stand underneath of and then put a work table on top of that gives me a lot of additional storage for tools and so on. So here, typically what I do is a lot of the brass processing. So I've got 2 vibratory tumblers, a large one and a small one. Generally I do most of my cleaning in this large CV 2001 Frankfurt Arsenal vibratory tumbler, which handles just a massive amount of cases. Up here you can see my media separator. A lot of the, in order to remove a lot of the lube in the after I do the brass resizing, oftentimes I will tumble it in this because I just keep clean media in here, and this is really primarily used just for taking off some of the excess loop. Next we have here my single stage press. It's a RCBS Rock Tucker Supreme. I use this for depriming, so typically when I get back from a shooting session, I'll take the brass, deprime it here, chuck it into the vibratory tumbler. Once I have enough brass to process, I'll go ahead and turn that on and let it process, separate it out, and then it goes into the actual reloading room to do the resizing and priming and so on. Also, in this bench, respective to reloading, I have a lot of my cleaning media. So here is corncob media. I typically buy a 40-pound bag through Zoro Tools. It's actually super cheap. And then over here I've got walnut media in that container here. So those are both clean. And then I actually reuse some of my dirty media. I don't, try to be mindful of cost. So oftentimes if media is dirty and I want to reuse it and just take it out temporarily, this is my holding container for that. And then you'll see underneath here just a lot of other stuff more related to woodworking. I've got a ton of F clamps, parallel clamps, pipe clamps, C clamps. You can never have enough clamps for woodworking, as well as some other assorted tools. I've got heavy duty craft paper to cover the assembly table if I'm doing any type of glue up or things like that, just so I don't get this table too messed up. Up here, I have a lot of my cleaning supplies for the rifles. So, brushes, jigs, different cleaners, and lubricants, CLP, brake cleaner, nitrile gloves. So this is really the Hoppies number 9, just what have you. So a lot of that's here. When I bring back the guns from shooting, oftentimes I'll bring them on here just to do some initial cleanup, get the dust off, wipe down the bolt, lubricate it before it gets stored away in the safe. So that's kind of my process there. Up here, additional storage that I've got, things like various eye pro, ear pro, and I've got miscellaneous other things like the spotting scope. I've got my binos that I keep up here, and then lastly in this cabinet, shop towels and other assorted reloading accessories. So that's kind of the rundown here, and then down here you can just see kind of stuff that I've temporarily thrown up here, like my arm board, laser rangefinder case, my data book, which I haven't used in quite some time because primarily I use it just to keep reloading data on. So anytime I go to the range and I'm working on load development, this comes with me. Otherwise it just stays here on the bench. All right, just kind of moving along. I've got some different, nylon gear and bags, short rifle case, long rifle case, and then of course my pack that I use currently, which is the Camelback Tri-Zip. They discontinued making this a few years ago, which is unfortunate because this is equivalent and in my opinion is actually better than the Mystery Ranch 3-day assault pack. You've got a ton of MOLLE webbing, tons of storage. You've got multiple compartments here, a large compartment, top compartment up here, and super durable. This is I've been using it for several years now, and completely functional. Nothing's broken on it, as opposed to, for example, I've had an Everly stock Gunslinger 2 where I've had a few of the Fastex buckles break on it. Nothing on this bag has broken so far, and it's been through a lot. So I won't go through what's in there, but this is generally what comes along when I go out shooting. And then this is just a storage cabinet. It has a lot of other nylon gear that is stored. So, various bags that you may be familiar with are kept in here. And then the last two compartments down here are targets, which our target supplier of choice is JC Steel Targets, as you know. Super tough AR500 targets. And in fact, there's a lot of targets here, and the reason why I can fit so many in here is because they're fairly small. In the shooting range that we use for practice, in order to have effective practice, we size the targets accordingly. So most of them are 5 inches or smaller. And we prefer the J-hook type targets because they ring pretty loudly, as well as move. So we've got targets down here, and then on the other side are a lot of my tools. So for example, I've got a drill press, and then a shop heater. This is my shop air cleaner, which is basically a 20-inch box fan with an air filter on it. And then some long lumber storage here. And so that pretty much takes care of this space. I've got my target board sitting over here. So if I actually want to take a target out to the field, I got a target board I can bring. So why don't we go ahead and we'll flip the camera 180 real quickly. I'll kind of quickly walk you through some of their stuff behind the scenes, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, so now we're on the other side of the garage. Again, this is well, technically I guess it's a 3-car garage, but it's fairly small for a 3-car garage. Because we do a lot of the 6'5 guys filming in here, the side that I just showed you really has to remain fairly clear of obstructions because it's the path between the cars and getting into the house. As well as we do a lot of filming. I do a lot of my woodworking over there. This side of the garage is really meant for storage, and for the time being I've shoved a lot of my tools onto this side. So you can see here, this is my Porter Cable table saw. So this is a hybrid table saw. It's got 31-inch rip capacity, and I've got a crosscut sled that has a 27-inch crosscut capacity, miter saw, shop vac. I've got various sanding tools here. So 12-inch disc sander and a spindle sander, and then I have a Grizzly 17-inch bandsaw as well. So those are kind of the main shop tools, and I've got additional lumber storage for sheet goods and offcuts behind this shelf here, bench top router, and then a lot of my glues and finishes I keep here, as well as gardening chemicals, paint. Got a ton of paint here as well. So that's kind of that, and then the rest of it really is just storage. My wife is kind of the collector in the family as far as different decorations. Pretty much any holiday on the calendar she has decorations for, so they get stored back here. So why don't we kind of come back around. So that's pretty much it, guys. I wanted to give you guys a picture of kind of the space that we do our pirate YouTube videos on 6'5 guys, and a behind the scenes look of the space and how I use it, as well as some details around the brass that I use, some of the stuff that you may have seen in the videos in the background, in case you had any questions, give you a little bit of background on those items. In the next episode that's coming up, we'll actually go into the upgraded reloading room, which I did this last summer. I'll walk you through some of the tools and the items in that room, so you kind of get a picture of some of the stuff that I'm currently using. And so you want to be sure to not miss that. In the meantime, remember, life's an adventure, stay on target.